We got some big ticket news items today, my friends. We are going to talk about insider trading. We are going to talk about Arena and their mobile plans, and we've even got a little bit of delicious garnish in the form of logo news. Greetings, owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles. We are here today to talk about the Magic the Gathering news. So I guess we'll start with the more exciting stuff and move on to the least significant thing last. All right, so first thing I want to talk about is insider trading rearing its ugly head once again. And actually, this ties into a funky combo that's probably going to lead to a ban as well. But insider trading, if you're not familiar with what I'm talking about here in terms of Magic the Gathering, it's basically people who have contacts through Wizards of the Coast and are able to move on action before everybody else. So basically, like, for example, what happens right here, you've got your Commander spoiler season. Well, people are fed information before the official release of information. And actually, you know what? That's an interesting argument for why leaks aren't always a negative thing. And by that I mean, we recently just had a massive leak of Commander cards, right? That whole like all the German stuff that was taken that gave us all a really early peek. In a way, that somewhat levels the playing field, because if all the information had been available to everybody at the same time, there's no way for somebody to step ahead of the queue and go, wow, it's crazy how when like a new card comes along and there's a really obvious combo that goes with it, it's amazing how like a week or at least a few days before the information gets released, all of a sudden there are buyouts happening everywhere, and it'll be on very questionable cards, right? So essentially, we have insider trading this time around the card opposition agent, okay? And this is the new card from Commander Legends. This isn't the one that was purchased. This is the one that caused purchasing to occur. So, opposition agent caused essentially a buyout on Marilyn of the Mornsong. Now, this is a card that nobody cares about, but a few days before opposition agent gets spoiled, all of a sudden, tons of copies are being bought up everywhere, and the price on it is spiking. So we've got another scenario with insider trading. Now, I do actually want to show you the combo because it's pretty crazy, all right? So, you've got Opposition Agent. An Opposition Agent is 1 black and 2. It's a 3/2 with flash. It's a pretty solid card already body-wise, but obviously its abilities are where the true deliciousness lies, right? So, you control your opponents while they're searching their libraries. What an amazingly cool concept. It's just a tiny slice of what the Mindslaver does, right? Mindslaver lets you make all the decisions for one of your opponent for the entirety of their turn. Now, this is just a narrow little slice where it's like you get to choose what your opponent searches up. And that on its own doesn't feel that attractive, right? You look at it and go, that's neat, but how much does it matter? Yes, Commander players do have search effects or whatever, but you're only going to get to play it once and mess up one guy's search and they're still going to get the card, right? No. You got to read the rest of the ability because that's where it gets crazy. Or I guess the next ability, because they're technically separate abilities. While an opponent is searching their library, they exile each card they find. You may play those cards for as long as they remain exiled, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast them. So first thing to note is the cards that are exiled by Opposition Agent, they will stay exiled even if Opposition Agent is destroyed. They will remain outside the game forever, for as long as need be, right? I mean, I guess not technically forever, because when the game ends, get back. But you know what I mean, right? So this is actually really awesome. Your opponent can play a tutor spell, right, to search the library. In response, you can play this. Not only are you now in charge of tutoring, so you get to look through every card in their deck and know everything they have. On top of that, you get to pick either the best card for you to take and use yourself, or you can just take the card that'll hose them the most. Like, I mean, you can cast whatever spells, right? Because you can tap your lands for a mana of any color when it comes to the opposition, like, ability. So there is the fact that you can use it, but you can still just like use this as a way to deny your opponent like their best card. Be like, guess what? It's exiled for the rest of the game. I know you can keep bringing it back from the graveyard. So why don't I just put it over here where you can never access it, right? So that is neat. But Marilyn of the Mornsong turns it into a gross lock. Like, if you don't already have a way out, you're done for. Marilyn of the Mornsong replaces card draws with a tutoring effect, right? Like, hold on, let me just pull up the exact wording of it here, right? So it says players can't draw cards. This doesn't matter what it is. Is it your first draw of the turn, your fifth draw of the turn? Doesn't matter. Players can't draw cards. At the beginning of each player's draw step, that player loses 3 life, searches their library for a card, puts it into their hand, then shuffles the library. Now, if you have out opposition agent, this turns into players can't draw cards. At the beginning of your turn, go grab something you want and lose 3 life. At the beginning of each other player's draw step, go through their deck for their best card, they lose 3 life, and they don't get to draw a card. So they're done. They don't get to draw anymore, and they're losing 3 life a turn. It's bonkers, right? So it's a pretty obvious combo for people who play Commander when they saw opposition agent or whatever. There was an immediate surge for Marilyn of the Mornsong, but somebody had already gotten there. Insider trading strikes again. It's unfortunate. I mean, it has been confirmed to me that there is literally a shadowy group that call themselves the Cabal that like manipulate markets and get this inside information. And if you happen to be a member of that group, feel free to reach out to me. I won't give away your identity. I just want some of that juicy information. And I don't mean insider information for me to get early cards. I just want to know how you're getting your info. Hook me up. I won't spoil my sources, I promise. And that's legitimate. I'm not trying to trick you. Please give me information. It'd be great for me. Anyways, let's move on to the next news bullet. You know what? I said we were going to end off with the least consequential, but I'm just going to shove it in the middle. So we're going to talk about the logo change, all right? There was a post made by Rosewater basically stating that going forwards, we're going to see like logo word change. If you haven't noticed, a lot of the recent sets use, hold on, let me grab a box. I got one right here anyways. They use this like particular font for like each set, right? They're using their trademarked Beleren font. If you didn't know that, Wizards of the Coast actually has its own trademarked font named after Jace Beleren. It doesn't come up much in most cases. People don't think about it. The last time I think it actually came up, aside from this piece of news, is when the people who were doing updates to Chandelar, there's a group that keeps Chandelar updated and keeps adding new cards to it, but they were using the Beleren font on these updates to the software and whatever. So Wizards actually like gave them a cease and desist saying stop using the Beleren font. But regardless, what's going on is somebody asked like Rosewater a real simple question. Are we ever going to get more unique looking logos for our sets and things like that, like we did for Dominaria? They all sort of become homogenous if you just use the Beleren type font face for every single set. And so they are going to be changing that, and going forwards, we're going to see more variation in the design of the set names, which, you know what, it's funny. You don't really think about it, or at least I didn't, but somebody bring it up and going, hey, we keep getting the same thing. I was like, he's right, actually. That's a good point. You know what I mean? Variety is nice, and sometimes these little details you may not pick up on right away, but sometimes your brain just notices them, like the Ikoria logo, where it's got like, where the letter cuts off and the layer behemoths is just this kind of little tucked in thing. It's a nice little design choice, but that is the least consequential news, just not worth its own video, but worth shoving in. The last thing we have to talk about is the completely predictable announcement that Magic Arena would not be coming to mobile in 2021. I don't remember exactly when the official announcement was made, but it was probably at least 6 months ago, where the CEO of Hasbro, I believe that's who does these financial reports, he came out and said, basically, we're going to be opening Arena up into the largest market there is. We're getting into the mobile gaming, and by the end of the year, we will have a fully realized, like fully functional program for you to mobily play Arena. I mean, I've always wondered how they're going to fit that like when you look at Arena and you have that big game of Magic going on, how do you fit all that real estate onto a tiny little phone without removing all the details? Like, a phone screen is barely bigger than a Magic card on half the phones that exist out there, right? So you've got size concerns as well. Were they originally saying, we're going mobile, but just bringing it to tablet? Was that the plan? And then you've got the fact that there's like 1 billion different phones. And all these different phones run on different operating systems. Like when it comes to PCs, you're going to normally have things fall into 2 categories. almost everybody is using Windows. Then you've got your rich boys and gals, who are like, excuse me, but I use Apple products. I paid $1,000 just for a monitor stand. And good on you for having that kind of money. But there's not nearly as many Apple users using the Mac OS or whatever on their computers as there are people just using good old Windows operating system, where you got to deal with Windows just shoving random nonsense in there and going, please use our browser. It's like, your browser exists just for me to find a good browser. Shut up. You know, like, that's Windows. So you've got Windows and you've got like Mac, and I guess if you want to get technical, and I'm sure there are some people in the Magic community who fall into this, excuse me, but I use Linux and Ubuntu. Well, la-dee-da. You're statistically insignificant, all right? Remember that, okay? Most people aren't running that as their operating system. So, just with regular operating systems, it took them forever to figure out how to just bring Windows was first, to bring like the Apple products on board. To be able to have it run on Apple computers, instead of them having to do this stupid workaround where they had, oh, you do this and then broadcast it to whatever, then you can play it this way. And it's like, you had to jump through all these hoops just to be able to play Arena on your Apple computer. So they eventually figured out how to get it onto Apple computers, but Arena's a giant buggy mess. Like, always, every time they do a new release, hell, every time they do an update to their software, it feels like things break. Every once in a while, you have a period of relative stability where you still have errors, but it's enough that you can kind of model through. But Arena right now is an absolute nightmare. Like, I used to play Arena daily. Yesterday, I played one game. The day before that, I played two. I've moved over into like messing around with, I actually got into Genshin Impact of all things. That's not terribly relevant, but specifically, it's just like, I'm somebody who played Arena constantly. And with the most recent update that they did on Thursday or whatever, the game has become an absolute nightmare. The amount of bugs, absolutely unprecedented. It's crazy, the range and breadth of bugs. All the way down to messing up the Phyrexian text on Phyrexian lands. Like, every aspect of Arena seems to be touched by bugs right now. And the most frustrating for me is the end of match delays. First of all, you've got to wait longer for a match to start, right? Just because there's fewer people playing, it seems to me. But anyways, a match will end. And how it used to work before is match ends, somebody's head blows up, and you just click on the screen and off you go, right? And you still have to do it with these other stages, but it wasn't as obvious to me. Now, you win a game. There is a long delay while the game tells you whether you won or lost. Then there's like this message that shows up on the screen, click anywhere to continue or whatever. And if you start clicking, it still doesn't register right away. Then it moves you to a black screen. Then it moves you to a screen where there's this little rotating spinner going blah, blah, blah. Then to another black screen. Then to the progress bar. Oh, you finished a game? Check it out. You got one more win on your little bar. You got 50 gold. And even if you don't win, you still have to go through all of this. And it's so tedious. You know what's really cute too? Are the random people who leave comments, I'm not having any problems with Arena. Oh, well, I guess that just invalidates all the problems that people are having. You know, all the bugs that people are posting and recording or whatever? Because you particularly haven't experienced them, even though there's documented evidence, I guess they just don't exist. You look like a smart character. Those comments, every Arena video I put out will have one person going, oh, I haven't experienced any bugs. Great. How often do you play? Where are all these other factors? No, this is all made up. It's like, oh, okay, here's your anecdotal evidence. Here's people literally providing proof in video form. Who do I believe, right? So you've got a scenario where Wizards can't even get their game to work on your computer. You know what I mean? They literally had to gank the Momir event. And it wasn't like they just made Momir up. They had run this event multiple times and it worked every other time. Like, they're so incompetent when it comes to creating a functional program that every time they try and add something or change something, they break pre-existing things. You would expect that your competence curve would go, I've learned to walk, now I'm going to run. Now I'm going to skip and dance. But with Arena, now I'm going to skip and dance, but I forgot how to walk and run. So instead I'm on the floor going, Gah! Like I'm dancing right now. That's Arena. That's Arena just on computers. And they're delusional enough to be like, we're going to bring this to mobile. Wizards isn't paying for the level of programmers that it takes to deliver this. They want a cheaply made piece of software that somehow functions perfectly, rakes in infinite money, and is done like that. It's completely delusional, let's be real. It's absolutely insane. So, that covers the news, my friends. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Especially tell me if you've never encountered any problems with Arena, because I will definitely take your word for it and think that you're not lying. All right? Anyways, thanks for coming by, everybody. If you like what I'm doing, like, comment, subscribe. It's all great for the channel. If you hate what I'm doing, get some perspective on your life and do something else with your time, because I did not make you come here, all right? So, all that being said, I'm going to leave a link to my newest lore video up on the screen for you to enjoy. Thanks for coming by, my friends, and I will see you tonight for a live stream that I call Tea and Gaming Dice.